Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we have a different video for you guys. I recorded this video for one of my other classes. It's on stress causes, stress management, and as exam is rapidly approaching, I know some of you students are dealing with a lot of stress, and so we know that there has been a lot of spotlight shown on mental health in recent times, because mental health is a real thing, it's a real issue, and it is expressing itself more and more among our young people today. And so at the start, I would share this video with you guys so we can help each other. We can help anybody who might be going through a similar situation in terms of stress. I mean, you're going through exams, stressful time, and so you can take a look at the video and see, and I hope it can help you. All right, so that's just a different video. So enjoy the video. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, and you know the rest. Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at stress and what causes stress, how we can cope with stress. And so we might have to take the time out to just acknowledge that stress is out there and how we might be able to handle some of it. Of course, this is not any deep dive into anybody's psyche, psychological, anything, because this is just a normal management business course, right? So we're not going too in depth with anything in terms of the brain and stress and anything like that. We're just looking more on the surface level so we can identify the stressors and, you know, find some relatively easy ways to deal with some of the stress that we might have. But of course, if anything as deep as depression or anything like that, then we have to seek professional help. So this is not any kind of professional advice or anything like that. This is just some surface level ways of dealing with stress. So that's my disclaimer right there. Yeah, so nobody go and say that, you know, a lecturer or whatever said this and said that about stress, because I'm not professional in the area, right? We just, based on experience and life, we can offer a little advice here and there, right? So with that said, let's just jump into what we're looking at today. And so we're starting out looking at just stress, understanding, managing, and thriving as it relates to that subject matter. So stress, friend or foe? So the point is that stress isn't always a negative, right? In small doses, it can enhance performance and motivation. Chronic stress leads to feeling overwhelmed and frazzled. Learning to recognize stress and symptoms and reduce its effect is crucial. So the saying is that, okay, in life, you're not going to live a stress-free life, right? But it's about chronic, meaning prolonged, right? Being exposed to stressors for a prolonged period of time. Because if you're an athlete, you're on the line, you're ready for a race. Of course, there's a level of stress there. You know, you're thinking about coming first, you're thinking about the competition, and so you get all amped up and you're ready, adrenaline pumping. And so boom, the gun goes off, you fly out the blocks, you know, you're going down the lane and everything, you're good to go. But that is some of the example of good stress, right? You find yourself in a situation, you know, you're walking home, somebody tries to attack you, stress, you signal to your body, and then you have that response, whether you fight or flight response, we're going to look at later on. So we're saying here is that something we need some stress sometimes to motivate you, right? Exam time coming up, you feel that you can feel it in the back of your head like, wow, I need to pass this exam, I need to pass this exam. So the stress level is increasing because you know you need to pass. But after exams, of course, you relax, you calm down, and you get back to normal, right? That's why sometimes in school back in the day, we used to have this thing called exam revenge, where after exams, you just got a little fete, a little party. I mean, nowadays in things, every day is a party, right? But back in our day, you know, we, after exams, go to the beach for a little beach nick, a little outing as we called it, right? Something to get you back down, get your levels back down, because exams over, so we have some party, some fete, something, right? Many a times, sometimes the house fete was after that exam period, so that you can just calm down, come back down to earth. Exams over, and so we move on from that, right? So that's a good stress right there. That stress I tell you, study. You need to study instead of watching TV. You need to study instead of being on the phone. You know, you hear that in your mind, study. Because if I don't study, I'm going to fail this exam. And then I have to do over next year. And we don't want to do over next year in school, right? So that's when stress is good. But as I said, chronic stress leads to a feeling of overwhelmed and frazzled. And so that's not what we want. We don't want any chronic stress. We don't want it to be extended beyond the time that it needs to be useful to us. What is stress? Stress is the body's reaction to any demand or threat. Triggers a fight or flight response. Stress response helps us to stay focused, energetic, and alert in emergency situations. So you have the fight or flight. So when you're caught in a situation, feel threatened, you feel a certain demand, you can either fall like a cheap suit, right? You fall under the pressure, or you get you amped up and you use it as motivation, ready to go, right? Sometimes literally, if you're, let's say you're in a situation and somebody may try to rob you, literally there's a fight or flight response. It's either out of port, you run because you see danger coming, or other people gonna say, okay, yeah, let me fight this thing. You're ready to stand up and fight, right? So it triggers that response in your body, in your mind, in your body. Should I fight or should I run? Should I escape? So you might choose different ways of escaping whatever issues you're going through, or you might just say, okay, I'm just face it head on and fight it, right? Do what I got to do. So that's what triggers is triggered by the stressors. So stress in the body reacts to any demand or threat to you as a person, or even to you, even your loved ones or stuff like that, right? Anything that is dear to you. And so it triggers that fight or flight response. So something you can feel it, right? You can get the adrenaline pumping, right? So fight or flight response, the body reaction. Nervous system releases stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol. So they you can feel that, something you feel that tingle, you feel those goosebumps, you feel the heart rate going up, increased heart rate, muscle tension, your blood pressure going up, sharpens the senses, you're ready, you focus now because it's like, okay, I got to be focused here or else things can go so really fast. Prepares the body to either fight or flee. And so that's how the body responds to stress. And so you can imagine that if your body has such a visceral reaction, such a tactile reaction, you could imagine that you don't want this thing going on forever, right? So you don't want this stress happening forever. Imagine the body constantly in that fight or flight mode. That's not good for you. Imagine your constant heart rate, constant muscle tension, constant blood pressure, the adrenaline flowing all the time. You amped up, you hype up, the cortisol flowing. You don't want that every time. And that is why chronic stress is such a problem, because we don't want to have this thing all the time, constant stress, right? So the danger of constant stress, the body reacts strongly to emotional and physical threats. Emergency stress systems become easily triggered. Chronic stress disrupts nearly every system in the body, suppresses immune system, upsets digestive and reproductive system, increases risk of heart attack and stroke, and speeds up the aging process. So all of this is what constant stress does to the human body. If you're always under constant stress, all of a sudden now, you might start thinking differently. You get a little paranoid. You hear something, least thing you look around, because beforehand, you're ready to go. So if this happens all the time, all of a sudden you're very fidgety, you're very jumpy, that kind of thing, right? And then you're ready to go again. Your heart rate just gone up one time because you hear something, you see something, you smell something, right? You don't want that all the time. And that's the problem with chronic stress. They say suppress your immune system, meaning you get sicker quicker, because your immune system to fight diseases is always ongoing, and so you're tired now. You already got the digestive system, it make your belly like you're rumbling, it make you feel a little sick. Even for reproductive system, right? Sometimes your sex drive might go down, sometimes your period get thrown off, all those things because of stress, right? Increases the risk of heart attack. Imagine your blood pressure always up, his heart rate always going, the heart working overtime, and so that can create causes for heart attack, stroke, and of course speeds up the aging process. So those are some of the dangers of constantly being under stress. Health problems related to stress: you have depression and anxiety. Pain of any kind can be amplified because of stress. Sleep problems is either you can't get to sleep or you can't sleep straight through, that kind of thing. So you have sleep problems. Autoimmune diseases might act up even further. Digestive problems, as I said, you might get constipated, you might get diarrhea because your belly always upset. Skin conditions might worsen or even come on, the onset of eczema or some rashes and those kind of things because you're under stress. Hives, people break out in hives because they're stressing. Heart disease because the blood pressure up and it damages the veins and the arteries and those kind of things. weight problems, right? Some people stress eat, and so they eat all the time, or some of the hormones that are released might add to weight gain, right? Reproductive issues, as I said before, period issues, sex drive issues, you don't feel like, anything like that. Thinking and memory problems, right? All of a sudden you can't remember certain things, you can't think clearly, you cannot focus because your mind is going a million miles per hour, and so you're not able to focus on what you need to focus on. So those are just some of the health issues related to stress. Of course, as I said, it goes deeper than that, and so for anything more serious, you have to consult the professionals. Recognizing stress overload. So one of the ways to deal with stress, right, is of course you have to make sure you identify or recognize when you're being stressed. Understand what triggers you, that kind of thing, right? Stress can creep up unnoticed. Important to be aware of the warning signs. Symptoms categorized into cognitive, emotional, physical, and behavioral. So you have to try your best to identify what is happening to you. Be aware of, okay, this is not how I normally operate. Something off. My mind is going where it doesn't normally go. Something off. I'm acting out. I'm behaving in a way that I don't normally behave. Something is wrong, right? Some persons, they're cool and calm, and then that's why as teachers, sometimes you can see when students are having a hard time elsewhere, maybe in the home or something, because you would realize that this is a student that always pass the work, do the work very well, behave in class, but all of a sudden you realize, wait, grades are slipping, you come in late, you're sleeping in class, you're acting out, you're talking out of turn, you're shouting. Like, this is not normal, this is not how this child behave. And so when you dig a little deeper, you realize that something going on, there's some stressors in that child's life. And so it will be very well if you are able to yourself identify these changes in your behavioral patterns, and so you can recognize, okay, stress is coming on, and so you might be able to preempt some of the effects they might have. You might be able to go and say, okay, let me seek some help, let me talk to somebody, that kind of way, right? So recognize when stress is overwhelming you. So we said that there are some ways that stress can present itself, can manifest itself, can express itself. We look at cognitive symptoms. Cognitive deals with the mind, the brain, thinking. And so we're saying memory problems. All of a sudden, you can't recall certain things. You have memory lapse. Something you find yourself, okay, what's I going to do again? What am I looking for? Those kind of things. You can't really concentrate. You can't focus. So inability to focus. Poor judgment. You're doing things that you don't normally do. Your judgment is being clouded, right? Sometimes you're having some issues, at home, and you come to work and it is impacting your work. All of a sudden, something that would not be a mistake for you, you're making these silly mistakes, right? Your judgment is being clouded. You can't concentrate properly. You all of a sudden become very cynical, right? You're seeing only negative in everything. Anxious or racing thoughts, constant worrying, right? Some people just tapping their feet, their mind going a million miles per hour. You're always worrying about something as opposed to just chill back, relax, and let certain things play out, right? So those are some of the cognitive symptoms of stress. Then we have some of the emotional responses to stress. Right, so that was the cognitive, mental. Then emotional symptoms of stress: depression or general unhappiness, anxiety, feel agitated, very moody, irritable, or anger. So everybody you just moody, and everything trigger you off, and you snap quickly at people. You get angry very easily. Those are some of the emotional symptoms of stress. You're feeling overwhelmed, like everything is barreling down on you. Life is just heavy. Everything coming down on you right this instance, right? And so you're feeling overwhelmed, loneliness, isolation, right? You just gone in a shell. You just in a little corner. You ain't taking on nobody. You want to talk to nobody. Like everybody annoying me. Nobody saying nothing to me. And there are other emotional and health problems that comes along with stress, right? So anxiety, agitation, depression, those kind of things. Then we have some of the physical symptoms of stress: aches and pains. Some people say they're in pain, and then doctor might say, well, I can't find nothing. You take a million tests, and the doctor can't find nothing. And sometimes the reality is that it's only manifested in your mind, and what's in your mind can become physical, right? So you can manifest in a physical way if it happens too often. Like I said, diarrhea, constipation, your stomach always growling, your stomach going, and so you have the run-ins, or you just can't get to eat properly and whatnot, and so you end up with some constipation, nausea, dizziness, right? Nausea, like if you want to vomit, you get no taste in the mouth, dizziness, your head spinning all the time, chest pain, because your heart rate always going and you feel some tightness in the chest, so you get a little anxiety attack, loss of sex drive, frequent colds or flu, because we say that your immune system is suppressed, and so you can't fight simple things like cold and flu, and so you get them every time a bug go around, you catch them. And so there are some of the symptoms of stress. Mind you, sometimes people say, oh, it's just stress, and it's something more serious. So again, you have to go and check with a professional so they sort out properly, so you understand exactly what is the issue. Don't just read this and say, okay, it's just stress, and you just play it off, right? It could be something more serious, so naturally you have to go and check with a professional, a medical professional. Behavioral symptoms of stress: eating more or less. Some people, as I said, they are stress eaters. So when they are stressed, they eat ice cream, they eat chips, they eat all kind of things, just eat. And some people, when they're under stress, they lose appetite, and so they actually not eating. Sometimes some persons get so small, they have a little breakup, and people are like, wow, the man done you get bite, because they start sucking in, and then they start drying in, right? You start seeing the collarbone and everything, because they just stop eating because of all the stress, right? So people deal with stress differently. Some eat more, some eat less. Sleeping too much or too little. Sometimes you can't even get a good 5 minutes sleep because your mind going and you wake up. Or sometimes you just like, man, I may want to move today. You're a little depressed and you just sleep all day, trying to sleep away your problems because you don't want to wake up and face the day because of the level of stress. Sleep as much as possible. Withdrawing from others, procrastinating or neglecting responsibilities. Right? May come to a point where, because you're under such stress, you find yourself like putting off things because you don't want to deal with it, you don't want to face it, and so you put it off. Or you just straight up not doing the responsibility you have, right? Like, I don't want to be bothered today, and so therefore I ain't doing nothing, right? Because you're trying to like put your head in the sand like an ostrich and hope that when you take out your head out the sand, everything is well around you, right? But then some people actually resort to using alcohol, drugs to relax, right? They take a little weed to mellow themselves out, drink some alcohol, get drunk. Some people drink so much they pass out, right? Not the best way to deal with stress by any means, right? So, because when you come down off your high, the problem is there still. Then people get some habits, some twitching. Your eyes start twitching, you start pacing, you biting your nails, you tap your feet all the time, you grind your teeth, that kind of stuff. You can use those things to try to deal with your stress. Right? So some of you would understand some of these things. I personally, when I was in school and exams were coming around, that's when stress started to hit, right? I start twitching, I start winking, and my hands get a little shaky and that kind of stuff. I just didn't like to take exams because of the uncertainty of exam. Because I could study top to bottom. The professor might just take the smallest thing and make a whole big question out of it. And then you realize, man, I only studied this. All of you have the same cry. Something like, but what I studied if I didn't come on the exam? And so you feel so depressed and so down after, right? So I never used to like exams. Still don't like exams. But I understand it's a necessary evil. It's something you have to go through. So you have to fight that, right? But yeah, everybody got their own ticks when it comes around certain things. CX are coming up, the results coming out, you get all nervous as it gets closer, that kind of thing, right? So those are some behavioral symptoms of stress. Alright, so cause of stress. You have the stressors out there. So again, you have to identify your stressors. Because the truth is that people react differently to different things, right? Some person might roll with the punches and say, oh yeah, challenge, let me go, bring it. Somebody might say, oh no, challenge, that's it, I fold up, I done, right? So different people react differently to different stressors or the same stressors. So stressors are situations and pressures that cause stress. So anything that causes you to exhibit stress, that is considered a stressor, right? So get that. So that's why you see there are so many things out there that can cause stress. We got different things can bombard you, different things come from different angles. They can cause stress to you. Can be a negative or positive event, right? Same way, because some positive events might cause stress. Because imagine getting married, that's a positive. But you up there like, I don't want to embarrass myself in front of all these people. I don't want to forget my vows. I don't want to, my suit might not fit, or I might get a tear. So even if it's a positive event, there's some stress associated with that. Negative events, right? You might have to go. So go for operation, something, gonna induce pain, and so you're a little nervous, but that's part of it. Stress can be external or internal. Perception of stress varies from person to person, as I said before. Some person might deem it as, okay, I have to talk in front of the class, I have to present. Some people like, yeah man, spotlight. I want to be seen, I want the mic, I want to be heard. That's what I live for. So that's them, they're ready for that. Others, again, same thing, but they start stressing, ticking, like, man, I gotta talk in front of everybody. Suppose I mispronounce a word. Suppose, my clothes rip, or suppose snot come up my nose, suppose my weave fall out, suppose my teeth drop out, something. So you're starting about the negative stuff. So you don't want to speak publicly, because there are some persons who are public speakers who excel at it, and others, no sir. That's one of the worst things you can ask of them. So understand that people perceive stress differently. Something might be serious to somebody is a walk in the park for somebody else, and vice versa. But some common external cause of stress, major life changes, like get a new child, a new house, a new job, you lose your job, you get divorced, those kind of things. Work or school, as I said before, that can be very stressful, right? Work or school can be very stressful, as you might understand. Relationship difficulties. I mean, one same by yourself in a relationship, it could be children, family, whatever it might be, relationships, right? Husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, and you're having a hard time right now, that can cause some stress. Of course, financial problems. You're broke, you want things, you want to buy things, stress, right? Because imagine you want to go doctor, you ain't got the money to pay the doctor. Your child is sick, you ain't got the money to help them. You want to travel, you want to do this, you want to buy this, your shoes mash up, you want to buy a pair of shoes, you ain't got the money. So financial problems can lead to stress. Debt collectors calling you, oh, everybody, you in debt up to your eyeball. That kind of stress is real. Being too busy. Alright, I got something to do up and down the place. You docket just full all the time, everywhere you got things to do. Children and family. When you become a parent, there's a whole nother level of stress. Because when you only care about yourself, as a single individual, you care about yourself, you ain't got nothing to worry about. So as you get a child, it's like, oh gosh, man, I got a whole next life in my hands. And so that stress level just goes up. You want to make sure that my child ain't turn out to be too bad, my child ain't turn out to be a menace to society, my child ain't turn out a certain way, so that added stress is right there. Something about those movies, like those like look at Bad Boys, for example, with the Will Smith character, right? Mike, yeah. And he was like, okay, I'll renegade and maverick and just go in guns blazing, cause he ain't got nobody. Soon as he get the girlfriend and stuff like that, man, my boy start blocking out, because he realized that, what if I die here? She ain't got nobody. Now I love somebody, and then I'm gonna miss all of this. So all of a sudden you have to take extra caution. So you realize that when you get a child and family, things just change, and stress increase exponentially. Common external cause of stress, right? Pessimism, right? If you always have a negative outlook on things, that's gonna cause. You're seeing the world right now, and the world just going up in flame. Like, man, the world can't get no worse than this. Things just terrible. It's just like one thing after the next. Trump and tariffs and inflation and just killing and murder and you just see the worst side of everything, right? And then you just feel like, man, the world ain't getting no better. Nobody getting no better. People are getting worse. And you got the whole pessimistic outlook on life, and so that can lead to a lot of stress. Inability to accept uncertainty. Some people are like, okay, I want to control everything, and if I can't control it, then stress. You stress over it because you realize there are just some things in life you have no say over, right? And so, you have to go on. I want you guys to look up, if you don't know it, look up the prayer of serenity and read the prayer of serenity, right? Where you're asking the Lord to grant you the strength and the knowledge of to control what you can control, and for things you cannot control, you just say, okay, God, take the wheel. Just take the wheel. I can't control it. Just let me just give it up to somebody, the higher power, right? But there are some people who always want to control everything, and when they can't, that's when the stress starts, right? Then they have rigid thinking, lack of flexibility, negative self-talk. You're always doubting yourself, always calling down yourself. That can lead to stress. Unrealistic expectations and perfectionism. So some people, like, they want to get everything perfect, everything right, and then when they ain't get that thing down to how they want it, stress. Like, oh my gosh, I could have done this, I could have done that. Why you didn't do that? Why you didn't do that? So, sometimes when you're working with a perfectionist, you could see it. Because things that you might say, man, a small thing. You let it slide. But somebody's like, a perfectionist be like, no, we ain't a slide. Put that over the T. Suppose you ain't put this. Everything we're gonna fail we're gonna fail the project, that kind of thing. So they want to do everything themselves now. So added stress on themselves. And then an all or nothing attitude. That says it all. It's like you in a world that you feel as though it's all or nothing, right? Some people live life like that. It's either I become the best at this, or I settle for the mediocrity. Nothing in the middle. It's either all or nothing. But again, life is not perfect. You can't control everything. And so there should be some room for disappointment. I'm sure some of your grandparents always tell you, every disappointment is for good, right? So you have to leave room for disappointment. You can't be there thinking that everything's going to work out according to plan. You have your own script in your head, and you feel like that's how everything's supposed to go. And when it doesn't, you just jump in and say, well, may want it then. It's either all or nothing. Can't live so, right? So that will add more stress to your life. Alright, dangers of constant stress, as I said before. Body reacts strongly to emotional and physical threats. Emergency stress system becomes easily triggered. Chronic stress disrupts nearly every system in the body. Suppresses immune system. We looked at that before. Alright, I think that was a double slide. Alright, so the top 10 stressful life events. Let me see if you are able to relate to any. Right? The Holmes West Stress Scale. So this is research that was done. Data was collected. And the data overwhelmingly selected that these are the top 10 stressors, average top 10 stressors in people's lives, stressful events in people's life. It's not just a pull out the ear kind of thing. This was research that was compiled, and this is what they came up with. So, top 10, you can read them. Death of a spouse, divorce, marriage, separation, imprisonment, for sure. That's why you see some people break down when they say you get life in jail, they just start to cry because, stress. Death of a close family member, injury or illness, marriage, job loss, marriage reconciliation, and retirement, right? So those are some of the life events that can cause a lot of stress in person's life. And I don't even have to explain them, you can see why, right? Retirement, if you know you got enough money, you start stressing because you're like, what am I going to do when I retire? I don't have any money to survive, I'm too old to work, I'm going to be at the mercy of Social Security kind of small, so you kind of really stressing over that. You lose a job, imagine you just build a house, you got your children in college, lose a job. How am I going to pay for all of this? I might lose my house, lose my car, child get kicked out of school, that kind of thing. Your marriage, you might have issues in your marriage, might be falling apart, and so that can cause some stress. But the marriage doesn't have to be just negative stress only, it could be positive stress, right? Yeah, overjoyed, that phase where you're all into the whole thing, and so, illness or injury, right? There's this saying that goes, I think, you have 99 problems, but when you have a health problem, there's only one problem. Because if you don't have your health, you have nothing, right? With all the money in the world, whatever, you can't enjoy nothing if you're not healthy. And so, of course, that's going to be a lot of stress. People dealing with cancers and these different diseases, injury, you lose a limb, all of a sudden you go blind, that kind of stress, right? I don't even have to tell you, this type of family, we understand how that goes. Divorce, you want to know the impact on your children, impact on yourself. What am I going to do with myself now? How do I get back in the dating pool? I wait 25 years, get divorced, I'm old now. Am I going to be alone for the rest of my life? That kind of thing. Of course, the death of a spouse, you're married, you love somebody. they're torn away from you by debt, and so that can really shift up your life and how it goes. Alright, so how do we deal with some of these stress, right? Finding your stress threshold. Too much stress varies from person to person, right? They're saying everybody got their own limit. Some people might, like I said, fall quicker than others under certain circumstances. So some people thrive on stress, others crumble. Factors influencing stress tolerance includes support network, sense of control, attitude, ability to deal with emotions, knowledge, and preparation. All those are factors that can influence your stress tolerance, right? Support network. You have people around you. They can help you deal with stress, right? You have your mom, your daddy, your sister, your siblings, good friends. When you have an issue, you talk to them. That can really help you in stressful situations. Sense of control. Like I said before, some people want to understand that I have control over this, I can control the outcome. But if you cannot, that can influence your level of stress. That's why there's some people can, in an airplane, you're flying. Some people just relax, enjoy the flight. Man, watch here. If I die, I die. That's just it. I ain't really care. Some like, I will want land because the plane might crash and this and that. There's no control. The plane goes down. That's it. Attitude and outlook. If you're positive, thinking okay, this gonna be hard, but I see the brighter side and I see the brighter side coming. So you have a positive attitude on a certain situation, and so you might be able to bypass what's happening now because you're looking towards the future and a more positive outlook. Ability to deal with your emotions. Again, we looked at that in the previous class. If you lack that emotional intelligence, then you might take the stress a little bit more heavier. Your knowledge and preparation. When something is spontaneous, uncertain, then that could lead to a lot more stress. But if you understand what you're about to face, if you're able to prepare for it, it can lessen the level of stress that you might experience because you already know, okay, this is what I should expect. And so you brace yourself, you're ready, you come ready to fight, and so the stress might not be as high. So, strategies for stress management, very simple stuff that we can all practice. Exercising, man. Exercising is a good way to relieve stress in so many ways. Like I told you guys before in a class previously, just move around. Go walk. You're in a business place, you're getting stressed, take a walk. Right? You might go on the streets, heal somebody, see somebody who even look more down and out than you, and you'll be like, oh wait, are you stressing and man out here ain't got no house? Or you might see the same thing, a vagrant out there enjoying life. Right? When everybody used to talk about Pinders just out there under the tree, enjoying himself, look like no stress in the world, and you just stressing about simple things. Man, no man, let me take a walk. Right? So exercise. You get your punching bag. You might want to, put somebody's face, picture somebody's face, and you just take out your stress on that if you want to, if you're that kind of person. But also pushing yourself in the gym, right? You lift them weights, you put the stress into those weights. Running, jogging, walking. Then connect to others, social support. Engage your senses, right? All the senses. Whichever one works best for you, you use that. Is it to listen to music? Is it to go and enjoy a nice meal? Is it to go and inhale the beach, smell that, that salt water, or even hearing the rumbles of the ocean? Whatever it is, engage your senses that could calm you down. Learn how to relax, right? Some relaxation techniques. Some yoga, painting, journaling, whatever it might be. And this one is key, a healthy diet. Eat properly, right? Don't be eating all the junk and that kind of thing. Not going to help you. Not going to help you at all. Eat properly. Don't go eat all the Cheetos and that kind of stuff. Not going to help you. Get your rest, right? So, you get your nice 7-8 hours of rest. Wake up ready to go, ready to face the day again. Set realistic goals for yourself in anything, work, life, school. Set realistic goals, because if you know you're not the top of top, right? Don't say I gain all once. You know yourself, right? And then when you fail those goals, you're like, you're all depressed. Know yourself, know your real goals. Practice time management so that you don't get overwhelmed and stressed. So you give things some little leeway. You know your homework due. You do it ahead of time, so when time comes. Because keep in mind, some people operate best under pressure, some don't. If you know you don't, manage your time properly. Alright, in conclusion, stress is a part of life. You can't escape it, but it doesn't have to control you. By understanding stress, recognizing its symptoms, and implementing healthy coping strategies, you can improve your well-being and thrive. Again, this is not any professional advice. If you're having prolonged stress, chronic stress, and you want to talk to somebody, do so. Talk to maybe a preacher man. See if you have a guidance counselor. Talk to your confidant, whoever it might be. See what you can do to get the help that you need if you're actually going through real life stress, chronic stress, right? So this is just to help, just to build awareness, so you're aware of what's happening. If you identify that you're going through that, do what's best for you, and don't take it on alone. That's the one of the key things. Do not take it on alone, right? Try your best to talk to people, talk to someone, so that you can be, live a little more stress-free life, right? YOLO. Alright, so that's it for this particular topic.